2,000 years ago, if you had this priceless fortune in gold coins
Right.
or like vital legal documents, the absolute safest place to put them wasn't, a fortified steel vault or some heavily guarded fortress.
Which is exactly what we would immediately think to do today.
Exactly. No, it was actually a cheap, fragile dirt jar just buried in the ground.
And that historical reality, I mean, it completely flips our modern understanding of value and protection on its head.
It really does.
Because we spend our entire lives trying to build these impenetrable fortresses around the things we care about, right? Including ourselves. But the ancients, they understood that the container is, well, it's entirely secondary to what it actually holds.
Welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to take that exact historical paradox and basically use it to completely reframe how you view your own human limitations.
Which we all have.
Oh, absolutely. So today we are exploring this really fascinating manuscript of a sermon from Pastor Yasushi Nemoto. He's at the Kahului Union Church in Maui, and he takes this really dense ancient text, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, which talks all about these earthen vessels, and he filters it through this highly relatable, occasionally hilarious modern lens.
It's so good. It serves as this perfect bridge between first century philosophy and, the everyday struggles that just leave us feeling totally depleted.
Yeah.
Because the text argues that the exhaustion you feel, or those moments where you feel like you are literally cracking under the pressure of your week.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Right, or those times you just don't feel perfect enough for whatever task is in front of you. The point is, those aren't signs of failure.
They are actually your greatest feature, which is wild to think about. And Pastor Nemoto, he hooks this entire massive paradigm shift on something so profoundly mundane that it just forces you to stop and think.
The Tupperware story.
Yes, the Tupperware story. He starts with the story about his mother, who in her younger days was a proud, official Tupperware lady.
Like a certified seller.
Exactly. She sold the brand name, Real Deal Tupperware, and she took it incredibly seriously.
I love that.
So if her kids ever dared to call, just a random cheap plastic container Tupperware, she would instantly take offense and correct them.
She was fiercely defending the brand integrity. I mean, you can't really blame her.
Not at all.
Oh.
But her reaction, it highlights this dynamic that we literally all have in our own kitchens.
Oh, for sure.
Like if you open your cabinets right now, you might have, I don't know, 1 or 2 premium storage containers. But the bulk of your collection is likely those cheap, flimsy plastic tubs that originally held, like supermarket ham or sliced cheese.
Yeah, the ones where you can never find the matching lid.
Exactly. And the source material actually mentions this specific one in the pastor's house. It's this battered container floating around the neighborhood, and it literally has the name of the neighbor's kid, Jacob, just scribbled on the lid in permanent marker.
We all have a Jacob container. We really do.
Right. But the brilliant insight here is what happens when you host a dinner party. You spend hours cooking this gourmet, complex meal, and at the end of the night, you pack up the leftovers for your friends, and you happen to put that incredible food into one of those cheap, reused ham containers.
Right.
When your friend eats that food the next day, they don't call you up to marvel at the magnificent plastic tub.
Wow, what an exquisite piece of plastic.
Exactly. They don't give a second thought to the great value branding. They praise the chef for the food inside. The container's only worth comes entirely from the treasure it happens to be carrying at that moment.
The only reason they treat that flimsy plastic with any care at all is just to protect the meal inside.
Yeah. I mean, it's like getting a gourmet 5-star meal served on a flimsy paper plate. You don't frame the plate, You savor the meal.
That's a great way to put it. And that kitchen dynamic is so obvious to us, yet we completely abandon that logic when it comes to our own lives.
We really do. Why do we do that? Why do we spend so much time in our own lives trying to polish our paper plates rather than focusing on the value we actually carry inside?
Well, because we obsess over the container. We spend an exorbitant amount of energy and time and money trying to polish our outer selves. We're always trying to appear flawless, indestructible, premium.
Like the real deal Tupperware.
Exactly. While completely neglecting the actual value we carry inside. It's exhausting. And honestly, it's a tension that has existed for millennia.
Okay, so take us back to the ancient text then.
Right. So the author of our ancient text, the Apostle Paul, he was addressing this exact same human obsession 2,000 years ago. He just used the kitchenware of his era, which was the clay jar or the earthen vessel.
Yep.
In the first century, a clay jar was the equivalent of our reused deli meat container. It was the 100 yen shop dish of the ancient Mediterranean.
So super common.
Ubiquitous. They were used for hauling water, storing grain, everyday meals. They were cheap, common, and incredibly fragile.
Like you drop one, it shatters into a dozen pieces, and you just sweep it away and buy another one for a few pennies.
Exactly. Nobody in the ancient world looked at a dirt jar and saw an heirloom, especially when they lived in a world where, the elite drank from vessels made of hammered gold or silver.
Right, so the clay jar is definitely the great value brand here.
100%. Which brings us back to that surprising historical fact about ancient banking that you mentioned at the start.
Ah, yes. The dirt jar banks.
Right. Because there were no institutional banks to hold wealth securely, ordinary people had to improvise. So they took their most precious possessions, gold, silver coins, vital family documents, and they hid them inside these incredibly ordinary, fragile dirt jars and buried them.
Okay, see, let me push back on this logic for a
Sure,
second.
sure.
Because looking at it through a modern lens, it seems entirely counterintuitive. If I possess a priceless diamond today, I am buying a state-of-the-art steel safe with, like, biometric scanners.
Of course.
Why would anyone in history argue that a fragile dirt pot is the optimal choice for carrying something priceless? The risk of the container breaking and ruining the contents just seems way too high.
I mean, it sounds like a terrible security strategy until you consider the psychology of camouflage. And more importantly, the philosophical point the text is making.
Okay, walk me through that.
The discrepancy between the cheap jar and the priceless gold, that's the entire point. When archaeologists excavate these sites today, they find an ordinary, shattered clay pot, and spilling out of it are priceless coins.
Oh, wow.
Right. That extreme contrast proves unequivocally that the power, the value, and the glory come entirely from the contents, not the container. Think about it. If you place a gold coin in a solid gold box, the observer might admire the craftsmanship of the box and completely ignore the coin.
That makes total sense. But if you pull gold out of dirt, the container vanishes from the mind and all the focus goes to the treasure.
Exactly.
The vessel just gets out of the way.
Exactly that. The Apostle Paul wasn't delivering a history lecture on ancient security methods. He was using this stark contrast to explain human design. He was stating unequivocally that we are the earthen vessels.
We are the dirt jars, which isn't exactly a flattering comparison at first glance.
No, it isn't meant to flatter the ego at all. It's meant to explain our fundamental nature. And to fully grasp this, the source actually connects the earthen vessel metaphor back to the creation story in Genesis.
Okay, how so?
Well, ancient philosophy viewed the dichotomy of body and spirit very distinctly. In Genesis, humans are not forged from, heavenly titanium or unbreakable celestial alloys.
Right.
The text says humans were literally formed from the dust of the ground, from dirt. And matter is mutable, it's temporary, it's fragile. The human form only becomes a living being when the breath of life, this divine eternal energy, is breathed into it.
So by our very definition, the power and the life force we possess is an external treasure placed into a fragile, temporary dirt container.
Yes. And the implication of this is massive for how we view our own struggles. The source makes a really profound philosophical point here. Humans were never designed to be unbreakable.
Never.
Never. We were never engineered to be self-sufficient superheroes who can withstand the crushing weight of the world without taking a scratch. We are designed inherently for dependence.
See, I have to challenge that design philosophy because, if an architect designs a bridge that just cracks under normal everyday traffic, that architect is going to get fired for creating a flawed structure.
Sure.
So why is it philosophically acceptable for a human being to crack under the normal pressures of life? Why wouldn't a higher power just build a stronger bridge?
That's a great question. It's because a bridge's only purpose is to bear weight. A human's purpose, according to this text, is to bear witness to something greater than themselves.
Now, that's interesting.
If we were designed to be completely self-sufficient and unbreakable, we would never need to rely on community or on faith or on a higher power. Our exhaustion, our physical limits, our emotional fragility, these aren't manufacturing errors. They aren't design flaws. They are the intentional reality of being an earthen vessel.
Wow. Hearing that emotional fragility isn't a design flaw is incredibly relieving. But it's also heavy when you consider just how severe that fragility can actually be.
Yeah, it can be devastating.
Because the source material doesn't just casually mention, feeling a little tired after a long shift at work. It dives into 4 specific, intense types of fragility from the ancient text.
Right. Pressed, perplexed, persecuted, and struck down.
Exactly. And those are distinct psychological and physical states that map perfectly onto the modern human experience.
They really do, like pressed on every side.
Yeah.
That is that crushing, claustrophobic feeling of external stress. It's the modern equivalent of burnout, where the demands of work and family and survival feel like they are physically squeezing the breath out of you.
Yeah. And then there is being perplexed, which isn't just, misplacing your keys. It's the deep cognitive load of not knowing the way forward. It is the psychological weight of facing a life decision or a crisis and realizing you're entirely out of answers.
And persecuted speaks to social alienation. It's the feeling of being targeted or isolated or betrayed by the people around you, which, for a social species like us, is deeply destabilizing.
Really?
And finally, struck down. That represents the sudden, catastrophic physical or emotional failures.
And the source grounds that concept of being struck down in this devastating real-world narrative. It details the story of a man named James, who was Zach's boss.
Right.
He was 62 years old. He was on a family vacation, taking a cruise and snorkeling in the beautiful waters of Maui. It's just an idyllic, normal day. And then completely out of nowhere, he goes into sudden cardiac arrest in the water.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah. He's pulled out, placed on a ventilator, but he is already brain dead, and he passes away shortly after.
It is such a harrowing example of how quickly the vessel can simply shatter. I mean, one minute you are enjoying paradise with your family, and the next, the container fails entirely.
It's shocking. But society constantly pressures us to project this image of total invincibility, right? We're told to never let them see you sweat, to optimize our routines, to biohack our way out of vulnerability.
The biohacking, yeah.
But if a sudden health crisis or a freak accident can just shatter us in an instant, why do we internalize it as a personal moral failure when our clay simply chips under the daily pressure of life?
Honestly, we feel like failures because we suffer from a sort of collective amnesia about what we are actually made of.
I do.
We have convinced ourselves we are supposed to be solid gold vaults. What makes this ancient text so resonant is that it doesn't sugarcoat this reality. It does not promise that if you possess enough faith or if you meditate enough, your vessel will magically turn into Kevlar.
It won't.
No. It fully acknowledges that the container is going to take heavy, sometimes devastating hits.
The bad things are going to happen. The vessel's going to get damaged.
It's inevitable. However, the text offers this brilliant psychological countermeasure to this reality, and it all hinges on one crucial conjunction, a single word.
The word but.
Exactly.
Let's break down the mechanics of that, because the text refuses to let the suffering be the end of the sentence. It says we are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed.
Right.
We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed.
And the psychology behind that but is the very definition of resilience. Let's look at the difference between being perplexed and being in despair.
Okay.
Being perplexed is a cognitive state, right? You are confused, you lack direction, the path forward is obscured. But despair is an existential state.
It goes deeper.
Much deeper. Despair is deciding that because the path is obscured, life is no longer worth navigating. The text acknowledges the confusion, but outright refuses the despair.
And being pressed but not crushed means the external pressure is real, the stress is closing in, but the structural integrity of your inner self, the treasure is holding.
Yes.
The vessel takes the hit, it might even crack, but the core remains intact.
According to the source, this is what true faith looks like. Faith isn't a magical shield that prevents your clay jar from ever being dropped.
Right.
Faith is believing in the structural support that exists on the other side of the butt. It is trusting that even when the earthen vessel is chipped or deeply cracked or feels entirely broken into pieces, the treasure inside the spirit, the life, the intrinsic value is never lost. It is still securely held.
See, here's where it gets really interesting to me. This changes how we view trauma and survival entirely.
How so?
Well, if we were unbreakable titanium vaults and we went through a massive life-altering trauma and came out completely unscathed without a single scratch, people would just look at us and marvel at our superior engineering. They would worship the vault.
Right. They would assume the strength was entirely your own.
Exactly. But because we are cracked clay, because our fragility is visible, surviving impossible things serves a totally different purpose. When we get pressed on every side but aren't crushed, the cracks become necessary.
Necessary.
Yes, the cracks are the only way people can see inside. They look at a person who has been through hell, who is visibly worn down, and they realize this person should be completely destroyed right now, but they are still standing. The cracks let the light of the treasure shine out. The weakness of the container proves the power of what's inside.
Oh, wow. That synthesis is the absolute heart of the message. The cracks prove the source of the power. It completely reorients how we are supposed to view our own wear and tear.
Yeah.
Instead of hiding our scars, we can see them as the windows through which our true value is displayed, which, naturally raises the ultimate question of the text.
No cheers.
If our destiny as earthen vessels is to inevitably get cracked, worn down, and eventually broken, what is the actual point of going through it? What is the mission of the vessel?
Because we aren't just meant to sit around waiting to break.
Far from it. The source outlines 3 specific purposes for fragile vessels. First, to carry the cross.
Okay.
In the text's context, this means actively yielding your personal will. It requires the psychological maturity to accept that your life isn't solely about maximizing your own comfort. It involves embracing a higher purpose, even if that path guarantees misunderstanding or hardship.
So you have to accept that the journey isn't going to be a smooth ride in a velvet-lined box.
Precisely. Second, the purpose is to reflect life. When you demonstrate hope amidst despair, when you maintain your grace even when you are struck down, other people see that treasure through your cracks.
Like we were just saying.
Right. Your vessel doesn't exist to be admired on a shelf. It exists to display the resilience inside to a world that desperately needs to see it.
And the third purpose.
The third, and arguably the most crucial purpose, is to deliver the treasure to others.
Which brings us right back to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And there's this brilliantly funny anecdote from the pastor's mother during her Tupperware selling days.
Oh, this is great.
Right. So one afternoon, this furious customer approaches her to lodge a severe complaint. The customer yells, "I put my food in your Tupperware and it rotted. Your product doesn't work at all."
It's such an absurd complaint when you analyze it. I mean, we have no idea how many weeks that customer left the food sitting on the counter or what condition it was in when they sealed it. But the complaint fundamentally misunderstands the physics and the purpose of the product.
Yeah, Tupperware is not a time machine. It is not an eternal stasis chamber designed to preserve a piece of ham indefinitely so it never decays.
No. And that absurd complaint reveals the core insight of this entire metaphor. A container is engineered for transport. Its highest calling is to take fresh, nourishing food and carry it from the kitchen to the people who are hungry.
It is built for delivery, not eternal preservation.
Exactly. And the source argues that human beings operate on the exact same principle. We are not meant to hoard our gifts. We are not meant to take our love or our hard-won knowledge, our faith, our time, and just lock it away inside ourselves just to keep it safe from a dangerous world.
We aren't supposed to put ourselves on a high shelf in a climate-controlled room to ensure we never get a scratch.
If you do that, the treasure inside you just rots, like the food in the Tupperware.
Wow.
The Apostle Paul actually wrote that he rejoiced in being worn out. He celebrated the fact that his physical clay jar was being consumed and chipped away because that wear and tear was undeniable proof that life, hope, and support were successfully being delivered to the people in his community.
The scratches on the vessel were the receipts of successful delivery?
Exactly.
That reframing changes everything. So what does this all mean for you listening? It means when you finish a grueling week and you are exhausted to your bones,
We've all been there.
when you feel like you've taken on serious wear and tear and you are getting scratched up by the demands of life, that is not a symptom of your failure.
Not at all. It is the natural, inevitable cost of doing exactly what you were engineered to do.
It is the cost of delivering value. If you are depleted because you spent your finite energy caring for your children or supporting a friend through a severe crisis or pouring your passion into a project that elevates your community, your vessel is breaking down because the treasure is actively being delivered.
You are functioning perfectly.
You really are.
Yeah.
God, the universe, or whatever framework of meaning you hold to, isn't going to judge the polish or the durability of your container. The true value is entirely based on the treasure you carried and delivered to others.
You do not need to be a flawless, gleaming silver chalice.
No.
It is perfectly acceptable to be a chipped, slightly faded plastic container with a crossed-out name scribbled on the lid, just doing your absolute best to get the nourishment to the neighbor's house. As long as you are carrying something meaningful, the vessel is executing its highest purpose.
Which leaves us with a profound question to chew on as we close out this deep dive. If the ultimate purpose of your vessel is delivery rather than eternal preservation, what treasure, whether that is a unique talent, a vital message, or just a deep act of love, are you currently hoarding inside yourself, simply because you are terrified of getting a few cracks along the journey?
It is a question that really demands we look at our own defensive walls. Are we protecting the treasure, or are we just obsessing over the jar?
Let the jar get a little chipped. Let the light shine out through the cracks. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.